Alert, alert, this is a Doomcock News alert. Alert, alert, this is a Doomcock News alert.
Greetings, this is Dicta Van Doomcock, the future ruler of Earth, and I am here today to react to an article published in Entertainment Weekly today by James Hibbard, entitled Star Trek Animated Comedy Series Ordered from Rick and Morty Writer. You know what the really funny thing is? When I first saw this article, the thing that immediately popped into my mind was Star Trek already has a comedy. It's called Star Trek Discovery. But then I realized, aha, the catch is Star Trek Discovery is not animated. It's reanimated. It's a goddamn shambling corpse of a show. But no, it's not animated. There's no life in it. No, that's the problem. Star Trek Discovery is a comedy, but it's not funny, and it's not animated. And so, having settled that initial discomfort, that initial cognitive dissonance, let's go on to the actual fucking article. The article begins, the first ever official Star Trek comedy series has been ordered. And the first unofficial Star Trek comedy series ever made was, of course, Star Trek Discovery. But it's not funny, and it's not Star Trek, so it's an epic failure. Can we expect any better from Star Trek, the official comedy series? Let's read on, shall we? CBS All Access... Excuse me, I just threw up a little in my mask. CBS All Access... CBS All... I think I've been possessed by the spirit of Jerry Lewis. CBS has greenlit an animated series from Emmy winner Mike Mahan, a writer on Adult Swim sensation Rick and Morty. The half-hour series is titled Star Trek Lower Decks and will tackle the Federation from a comedic perspective, focusing, quote, on the support crew serving on one of Starfleet's least important ships. Boy, yeah, it just sounds kind of like shit that we've seen before in other things, like shades of Red Dwarf, basically. Red Dwarf meets Star Trek by way of a, I guess, colonoscopy. They've already made a joke out of Star Trek, right on their own. And so the fact that they are now doing a comedy of their joke, I predict that hilarity will not ensue. I return to the article and quote, Mike won our hearts with his first sentence. I want to do a show about the people who put the yellow cartridge in the food replicator so a banana can come out the other end, said executive producer Alex Kurtzman. Well, Kurtzman, on the other hand, likes to put bananas in the food replicator and come out with shit. But never mind. Mahan's cat's name is Riker, says Kurtzman. His son's name is Sagan. Great. So now they're hiring writers on the basis of what they named their cat and their brat. Isn't that fucking special? He adds, the man is committed. He's brilliantly funny and knows every inch of every Star Trek episode. And that's his secret sauce. He writes with the pure, joyful heart of a true fan. It would have been really great if you'd actually had some true fans on the actual Star Trek series that mattered, STD, but you didn't have a goddamn fan in the room. Oh, you had one, actually. You had Bryan Singer, and you fired his ass. Knock, knock. Who's there? A Star Trek fan. Sorry, we're not hiring. Fuck you. Oh, the pure, joyful heart of a true fan. You mean the shit that you've been driving nails into, spikes, spiteful railroad ties into any joyful heart of any true fans that you could find, you piece of shit, and now you want us to believe that you've actually hired one? Fuck you. As we broaden the world of Trek to fans of all ages, that's code for we're dumbing down the franchise so that idiots with 7-second attention spans can kind of follow along between tweeting on their social media accounts You know, the audience with the attention span of a fucking June bug on Ritalin that's been banging its fucking head against the glass for 14 hours straight trying to get at the purdy light within. That fandom. The ones that think Mikey Spock is, you know, a human as opposed to a plank of fucking painted wood. That audience. Well, I'm glad to be included in that audience. Not. Knock knock. Who's there? A Star Trek comedy. Fuck you! Sometimes the absence of humor in a knock-knock joke more accurately conveys the depths of contempt that the knock-knock joker has for the subject of the knock-knock joke. It's a subtle, fine line between just having a clever punchline and just saying fuck you. Just putting an end to the joke and saying fuck you, which is what I wish they would do with Star Trek Discovery. Because this joke has gone on far, far, far fucking too long. Anyone that's excited about this shit, I've got a news flash for you at the end of this article, but I'll finish it up. He said, added McMahon as a lifelong Trekkie. It's a surreal and wonderful dream come true to be a part of this new era of Star Trek. Yeah, if you actually were a lifelong Trekkie, you'd be appalled. You'd be appalled. This would be the shit of nightmares. Like an actor has a dream of going out on stage without having any rehearsal, not knowing your lines and not knowing even which play you're in. And the nightmare of any true lifelong Trekkie would be to be trapped on the staff of Star Trek Discovery, participating in the systematic gang rape of a franchise that has endured for over 50 fucking years. Yeah, that would be a nightmare for any real lifelong Trekkie, not a wonderful, surreal dream come true. While Star Trek Lower Decks, the article continues, is a half-hour animated show at its core, it's undeniably Trek. And I promise not to add an episode at the very end that reveals the whole thing took place in a training program. Ha, ha, fucking ha. I wish that STD was a goddamn Red Dwarf tie-in and that the whole series was revealed to be nothing more than another squirt of despair ink from the Despair Squid.
Dwayne Dibley?
Indeed. If you haven't seen Red Dwarf, check it out. There's an episode where they think that they have all been in a hologram simulation of a virtual reality game called Red Dwarf and that none of them were who they thought they were, and the cool cat is an idiot, dork, named
Dwayne Dibley? No, hell nah.
But it's true. And I think that if they wanted to save Star Trek, they either need to have it be some kind of twisted simulation done by Barclay on the holodeck, like trying to imagine a dysfunctional federation for some kind of serial that he's doing for the entertainment of the crew, or it needs to be Q, who was like trying to show Picard just how bad things could get if Picard doesn't toe the line and develop a goddamn sense of humor. This is what a humorless universe looks like, mon capitaine. Something like that. Some kind of retcon, some kind of excuse for why this nightmarish parody of everything that we love and hold true in the Star Trek universe is allowed to exist. Not some fucking animated comedy by the writer of Rick and Morty who is not called Dan Harmon. Swell. Yeah, that's wonderful. But you want to know the capper, kids? Or maybe the crapper when you get right down to it? The bottom line of all this fucking wonderful kumbaya, oh boy, they're taking a comedic approach news is that it is still being produced by Alex Kurtzman. It is still going to be 25% different as per the Bad Robot licensing deal that cut the balls off of Star Trek and shoved them right up its own ass. And it's still going to suck because of those reasons. The only universe that exists now in Star Trek moving forward is the Kelvin-verse and the STD-verse, which are basically one and the same, even though they're not admitting it. So just like Picard is 25% corrupted, so too this comedy will be 25% corrupted. And finally, you know that the only reason that this piece of shit is going to exist is as a direct result of the existence of the Orville. You know, the Star Trek show that's on TV right now. The only Star Trek show that is actually in existence is called the Orville, and it's on Fox, and that must really, really rot CBS's ass so bad that they've decided, hey, we need to get in on some of this Orville humor action. They've already stuffed season 2 full of this shit. You have the lizard guy sneezing on the crewman in the elevator, ha ha ha, and then you've also had all the wonderful humor in that short trek episode, The Runaway, where they were bonding over ice cream, Tillian, an invading alien that she doesn't report, who's the queen of her twin sister planet. You know, the fat one, since obviously she's not planet-sized. It's just a shit show. And these guys don't really have a sense of humor. They're trying to recruit a sense of humor from outside. And obviously this guy, if he's written on Rick and Morty, he's got some kind of sense of humor. But it's going to be a sense of humor set in a perverted, bizarro Star Trek universe that has not a goddamn thing to do with actual Star Trek, and will just be another gob of spit in the eyes of all true Star Trek fans. Only they're hoping that this gob of spit will be funny. You know what's really funny? Behind all of this news is the desperation of these soulless motherfuckers who will not acknowledge in words just how badly they've screwed the pooch. In article after article where Kurtzman says it's beyond fixing the canon. They promised that it would line up with canon. Now he's saying, yeah, that's pretty much impossible. And their reliance on this Picard series to try to save their worthless asses after they threw the fans overboard. Now they're trying to throw us a goddamn net to try to reel us back into the ship and say, no, we were just kidding when we threw you overboard. Here's some real Star Trek, 25% different, with a guy who can barely walk at this point because he's almost 80 fucking years old, or however old the guy is. He's basically pushing into Yoda territory. He's not green and his ears aren't long and pointed and he doesn't speak in convoluted sentences, but I bet you his bowel movements are not regular, and I bet you that his hair, if he grew it out, would be white and stringy too. And now this. They're throwing every possible thing against the wall that they can possibly conceive of in order to save their worthless jobs after they have screwed the pooch royally and all but completely destroyed the franchise. The only ones who are supporting it now, the only ones left, are the drooling idiots with the 7-second attention spans that are the core now of their faithful following. Sadly, these drooling idiots with the 7-second attention spans do not buy Star Trek merchandise, and they're not sticky, and they don't have the depth of attention or intellect or loyalty or love or human cognition to support a goddamn franchise. And so they have traded out faithful fans who follow the lure of literature, who buy the products, who make the costumes, who memorize scenes, who spread it out across the world, proselytizing for the series. They've traded out those fans for the worthless Drekkies that now clog the fandom like shit in an overstuffed sewer. Well, good luck with that, CBS. You wanted pieces of shit, you've got pieces of shit, you made your shit sandwich, now lie in it. All new Star Trek is perverted and adulterated from the original. Do not be fooled by the logo. Look at what they do, not what they say. By their works shall ye judge them, and these are sewer works. From the center of the earth, this is Dicta Van Doomcock again, bidding you all stay angry.
Ha 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 ha.